Hey guys, glad you could join us tonight. We're talking about one of history's most fearsome warriors, the Viking Berserker. We see them as unstoppable heroes, but the brutal truth is that they were a dangerous cult, men who cast off their humanity to become wild beasts in battle, a psychological weapon as much a danger to their own side as to the enemy. First, find your own safe, long haul for the night. Settle into your bed and let the tensions of your day surrender. If these calm tales from the brutal side of history help you relax, go ahead and tap the like button to support the channel. It's always fascinating to see our global shield wall in the comments, so be sure to tell us where you're listening from and what time it is there. Ready? Take a slow breath in and let it go. Good. The fire in the centre of the hall is burning low, casting long, dancing shadows. The year is 950 AD. You are a young warrior in Norway, and you're about to seek a dark and dangerous kind of power. You are a warrior in the household of a powerful jarl. You have a place by the fire, a share of the spoils from the last raid, and a reputation as a steady hand with a spear and shield. But it is not enough. You watch the other warriors, the Huskolls, as they feast and boast. Theirs is a world of predictable courage, of shield walls and disciplined combat. But you have seen something else. You have seen the Jarl's personal shock troops, the Berserkers. They are a dozen men who live apart, who carry a strange, wild energy about them. In battle, they are not soldiers. They are forces of nature. You have seen them work. You have seen them cast aside their shields and armour, clad only in the skins of bears or wolves, and charge an enemy line with a heedless, terrifying fury. You have heard them howl like beasts, seen them bite the iron rims of their own shields, and watched as they shrugged off wounds that would fell any normal man. They do not just fight, they become possessed. They channel the divine chaotic madness of the All-Father himself, Odin, the god of poetry, magic, and battle fury. And you, in your young ambition, you want that power. You want to touch that fire. You know the risks. The Berserkers are feared, but they are not loved. They are a necessary evil, a pack of mad dogs that the Jarl unleashes upon his enemies. In peacetime, they are a menace, their tempers as sharp and unpredictable as their axes. But the allure of that power, the promise of becoming more than a man, of becoming a living avatar of the war god, is too strong to resist. You seek out the leader of the Berserker Brotherhood, a huge scarred man named Kveldulf, whose name means evening wolf. You tell him you want to join. He looks at you, his eyes a pale, cold grey, and he smiles a smile that holds no warmth. The training, he tells you, is not of the body, but of the soul, and it begins now. The initiation is not a test of your skill with an axe. It is a journey into the wilderness, and into the darkness of your own mind. Kveldulf and his brothers take you deep into the frozen pine forests, far from the warmth and safety of the Jarl's Hall. They leave you there, alone, with nothing but a single knife and the clothes on your back. Your task is to survive, and more than that, your task is to die and be reborn. You are a man, Kveldulf tells you before he leaves. To become one of us, you must forget that. You must find the beast that lives inside you. You must become the bear. The next weeks are a blur of cold, hunger, and fear. You learn to track, to hunt small game with your knife, to find shelter in the hollows of ancient trees. You are constantly hungry, and the gnawing in your belly sharpens your senses. But the physical ordeal is only part of it. The solitude is the real test. It presses in on you, a vast, silent weight. You begin to lose your sense of self. Your thoughts become simpler, more primal. You are not a man, you are a predator, and you are prey. You are hunting for the great brown bear that you know dens in these mountains. It is a creature of immense power, a living symbol of the wild, untamable spirit you seek. You find its tracks, and you begin your own hunt, stalking the great beast, learning its ways. The final confrontation is a terrifying, desperate affair. It is not a clean kill. It is a bloody, chaotic struggle, a whirlwind of claws and teeth and your own desperate knife work. But you prevail. You spend the next night in the dead bear's den, the warmth of its body a strange comfort. In a state of near delirium from exhaustion and hunger, you feel a profound shift in your consciousness. You are no longer just a man who has killed a bear. You feel its strength, its fury, its wild spirit seeping into you. You skin the great beast, and you wrap its heavy, furred hide around your shoulders. You have passed the test. You have killed the man you were, and you have become the bear. You return to the Jarl's settlement not as a man, but as a primal force. Clad in the skin of the beast you have conquered and absorbed. Kveldolf and the other berserkers greet you not with cheers, but with a silent, knowing nod of acceptance. You are one of them now. You are led to their camp, which is a collection of crude huts set apart from the main long hall, a place the other warriors and villagers avoid. This is your new home, the company of outcasts. Life here is different. There is a constant simmering intensity, a sense of coiled violence in the air. The training is no longer about the disciplined shield wall or the mechanics of a spear thrust. The training here is about the rage. It is about learning to deliberately and systematically dismantle the barriers of reason and fear that make you a man. You engage in brutal bare-knuckle brawls with your new brothers, fights that are less about technique and more about raw aggression. You spend hours chanting, your voices joining in a deep, guttural drone, calling upon the name of Odin, working yourselves into a state of heightened agitation. You participate in strange, unsettling rituals, dances that mimic the movements of wolves and bears, designed to blur the lines of your own identity. You are being psychologically conditioned, reprogrammed. You are learning to cultivate your own madness, to find the trigger that will unleash the beast within. The other warriors of the Jarl's household watch you with a mixture of awe and disgust. They need you in a battle. They know that your insane fury can break a shield wall that their own disciplined courage cannot. But they do not want to drink with you. They do not want you near their families. You are a weapon, but a volatile and unstable one. You are no longer just a warrior. You are a monster, held on a leash that feels thinner every day. A rival Jarl has raided your master's lands, and the time for vengeance has come. The longships are being prepared. For the regular warriors, this means sharpening axes, mending mail coats, and preparing for a journey. For you and your berserker brothers, the preparation is of a different, darker kind. It is a ritual to summon the berserker gang, the sacred battle fury. The night before you are to set sail, your brotherhood gathers around a great bonfire in your secluded camp. The air is thick with smoke and the smell of roasting meat from sacrificed goat. The rhythmic, hypnotic beat of a drum begins, a sound like a great, slow heartbeat. You and your brothers begin to chant. You call out the many names of Odin, the All-Father, the Lord of the Slain, the Furious One. The chanting grows louder, faster, your voices rising into a collective roar. You begin to move, to dance around the fire, your bodies casting huge, monstrous shadows. The dance is wild, untamed, a physical manifestation of the chaos you are summoning. Kveldolf acting as the high priest of your cult, prepares a special brew in a large iron cauldron. It is a dark, steaming liquid, made from a mixture of potent herbs. You see him add the twisted roots of henbane, a plant known to cause hallucinations, disorientation, and a terrifying, aggressive rage. This is not a drink of celebration. It is a sacrament, a poison that will kill the man inside you and give birth to the beast. You each drink a hornful of the bitter, foul-tasting brew. You feel its effects almost immediately. The world begins to waver, to lose its sharp edges. The faces of your brothers seem to shimmer and distort, their features elongating into the snouts of wolves, their bodies swelling with the phantom muscle of great bears. The fire in the center of the circle seems to roar with a living intelligence. You no longer feel the cold of the night air. You no longer feel the anxieties and doubts of your human mind. There is only a growing, thrilling, all-consuming rage. The transformation begins. A low growl rumbles in your chest, a sound that is not your own. You feel an overwhelming urge to bite, to tear, to destroy. You look at your shield, and you are filled with a sudden, insane fury at its very existence. You begin to chew on the iron rim, the cold metal scraping against your teeth, your gums bleeding. You are no longer a man. You are a vessel. You are a sacred monster, filled with the divine and terrible power of the god of war. The Berserker gang has begun. You are ready for battle. You are herded onto the longship like a pack of dangerous animals. The other warriors give you a wide berth, their faces a mixture of fear and awe. You and your brothers are a snarling, howling mass of fury, kept to the prow of the ship, a living figurehead of terror. The journey across the water is a blur. You do not feel the sea spray. You do not feel the hunger or the thirst. You are in a state of heightened, distorted reality, your mind a red haze of pure, focused aggression. When you reach the enemy's shore, there is no complex battle plan. The plan is simple. The plan is you. The longship beaches on the shingle, and before the other warriors have even formed their shield wall, your pack is unleashed. You wear no armor, no helmet. Your only protection is your bearskin and your madness. You leap from the boat with a great howling roar and charge up the beach straight towards the enemy line. They are forming a shield wall, a disciplined line of spears and shields, the bedrock of Viking Age warfare. A normal army would crash against it and break, but you are not a normal army. You do not try to fight it, you simply smash into it. You are a force of chaos, a living wrecking ball. You feel no pain as a spear point scrapes along your ribs. You feel no fear as axe blades whistle past your head. Your world has shrunk to a single glorious purpose: destruction. You swing your great battle axe in wide, indiscriminate arcs, your only goal to shatter shields, to break bones, to create a hole in the enemy's reality. The enemy, disciplined warriors themselves, are not prepared for this. They are prepared to fight men. They are not prepared to fight a pack of howling, seemingly invincible beasts, who feel no pain and have no regard for their own lives. They see your eyes, wide and unfocused, your mouth foaming, and they are seized by a primal terror. They falter. A gap appears in the shield wall. That is all your own army needs. The Jarl's Huskarls pour through the breach you have created, and the enemy line collapses into a panicked rout. The battle is over before it has truly begun. The battle is won. The enemy is scattered, their village burning. The red haze of the Berserker gang begins to fade, and the crash is brutal. It is not a gentle return to sobriety. It is like falling off a cliff. The superhuman strength, the divine madness, drains out of you, leaving a profound, empty weakness in its place. Your body, which felt nothing just moments ago, is now a symphony of agony. You look down and see the wounds you have taken, the deep cuts and bruises you were completely unaware of. You feel a bone-deep exhaustion, a weariness that seems to settle in your very soul. You and your berserker brothers collapse on the bloody battlefield, heedless of the victory celebrations of the other warriors. For the next day, perhaps two, you will be in this state of near catatonic exhaustion. You are weak, apathetic, and consumed by a deep, chilling depression. You can barely speak. You can barely eat. It is the price of the fury. The god has loaned you his power, and now he is collecting the debt, with interest. You are carried back to the ship, no longer a terrifying warrior, but a fragile, wounded patient. The other warriors treat you with a new, gentler kind of distance now. They are no longer afraid of your rage. They are disturbed by your weakness. They see that the state of being a berserker is not a permanent strength, but a temporary and very costly transformation. You lie on the deck, shivering under your bearskin, watching the grey waves, your mind as empty and grey as the sea. You were a god for an hour, and now you are less than a man. You return to your Jarl's hall a victor. A great feast is held. The skalds sing songs of the glorious battle, of the Jarl's wisdom and the courage of his warriors. They sing of the berserkers too, but their songs are different. They sing of you as one might sing of a great storm or a forest fire, a terrifying, destructive force of nature that was harnessed for their cause. You and your brothers are given places of honour at the feast, but it is an honour tinged with fear. The other warriors drink with you, but their laughter is strained. The village women serve you, but they will not meet your eyes. Everyone is waiting for the beast to show itself again, and sometimes it does. A few days after the feast, during a game of dice, one of your brothers becomes enraged by a perceived slight. You see the change happen in an instant. His eyes go wide, a low growl rumbles in his chest, and he flips the heavy wooden table, scattering the game pieces. The other warriors in the hall freeze, their hands moving slowly towards their weapons. Kveldulf manages to calm the man down, speaking to him in the low, chanting tones of your rituals. But the damage is done. Everyone in the hall has been reminded of the fragile leash that holds your collective madness in check. You are a weapon that is never truly safe. You are a constant threat not just to your enemies, but to your own friends, your own community. You are a tool for war, and in a world where peace is a temporary and precious state, a tool for war is not always a welcome guest at the table. You are a berserker. You have touched the face of Odin. You're one of the most feared warriors of your time. But what is your future? You're a specialist in an art that is incompatible with a normal life. You cannot settle down on a farm. The quiet, patient rhythm of agriculture is alien to your spirit, which now craves the storm of battle. You cannot start a family. What woman would have you? What child could be safe around your unpredictable fury? Your path is a narrow and a violent one. You will follow your Jarl from one battle to the next, serving as his vanguard of terror, until the day a lucky spear, thrust, or a well-aimed axe blow finally finds its mark. Your death will be bloody and glorious, the death you are taught to crave. But there is another possibility. The world is changing. Kings are growing more powerful, consolidating the lands of the Jarls. They are building armies that rely not on wild fury, but on discipline, law, and order. In this new world, the berserker is not an asset. He is a liability, an outlaw. You see your own future in Kveldorf's eyes. He is an old wolf now, his body a roadmap of scars, his spirit weary from a lifetime of rage. You are a relic, a practitioner of a dying and sacred madness. Your only true home is the battlefield. Your only true peace will be found in the halls of Valhalla. You are a living ghost, a man who has sacrificed his own humanity for a brief, glorious taste of divine fury, and now must walk the lonely path between the world of men and the world of monsters. The Viking Berserker was not the clean, heroic super soldier of modern fantasy. He was a far more terrifying and tragic figure. He was a ritual warrior who likely used a combination of intense psychological conditioning and potent psychoactive substances to cast off the limits of human fear and pain. He was a terrifying weapon of shock and awe, a man who became a beast to defend his people. But this transformation came at a terrible cost: his sanity, his place in society, and ultimately his own humanity. He was the dark and ecstatic heart of the Viking way of war, a living testament to a culture that embraced death as fervently as it celebrated life. When we think of the Aztec Empire, we often picture magnificent pyramids, floating cities, and warriors in spectacular eagle costumes. But at the heart of that empire was a religious system that was both deeply sophisticated and terrifyingly brutal. And at the center of that system were the priests. We imagine them as mysterious, powerful figures. But the reality of their daily life was a grueling ordeal of extreme self-sacrifice, complex scholarship, and a sacred duty that involved performing one of the most violent rituals in human history, all because they believed the fate of the entire universe depended on it. We are travelling to the heart of a great empire, to a city built on a lake, under a sky ruled by a thirsty sun. The year is 1488. You are a priest in the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, and the gods are waiting. The sound that tears you from your sleep is not a bell, but the deep, mournful cry of a conch-shell trumpet blown by a priest on watch high atop the great temple. It is the middle of the night, hours before the dawn. The air in your Spartan stone cell is cold, the high-altitude chill of the Valley of Mexico seeping through the walls. You rise from your simple reed mat. There is no moment of gentle waking. The sacred machinery of the cosmos requires constant maintenance, and your shift has begun. You are a Tlamakasqui, a priest of the empire, and your first duty of the day is not to pray for others, but to bleed for the gods. You are not an old, wise man. You are young, chosen from the nobility as a child to be educated in the Kalmakak, the harsh, disciplined school for priests and nobles. Your life since then has been one of relentless austerity. You have been trained to endure pain, hunger, and sleep deprivation. These are not hardships to be avoided. They are tools to bring you closer to the divine. You pull on your simple cotton loincloth and your black-dyed tilma, a cloak that is stiff and matted from the blood of previous offerings. Your hair is long, unwashed, and similarly caked with blood, a mark of your sacred office. You and a procession of other priests file out of your quarters and begin to ascend the great pyramid of Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird on the left, the fearsome god of the sun and war. The stone steps are steep and cold beneath your bare feet. The only light comes from the flickering torches that line the stairway, casting your long, strange shadows against the temple walls. You carry your tools, a sharpened bone awl, a stingray spine, and a bowl to catch your offering. This is the first of many rituals that will define your day, a personal payment on the immense debt that humanity owes to the gods. You reach the summit of the pyramid, a high, flat platform that offers a breathtaking view of the great city still sleeping below. The vast lake that surrounds Tenochtitlan is a sheet of black glass, reflecting the brilliant, cold light of the stars. In front of the grim idol of the god, you kneel. This is the daily ritual of auto-sacrifice and personal bloodletting that is the foundation of your entire priesthood. You and your brothers must feed the gods with your own precious water before you can ask them to bless the people. You take a sharp, pointed Magathorn and, with a steady, practiced hand, you pierce your own earlobe. The pain is a sharp, clean fire, a familiar sensation. You do this every day. Sometimes it is the earlobes, sometimes the tongue, sometimes the flesh of your arms or legs. You allow the blood to well up and drip onto strips of paper that have been prepared. You watch as your own life force soaks into the bark paper, a small, intimate offering. Other priests are doing the same, their faces impassive masks of disciplined piety in the flickering torchlight. This is not an act of self-hatred, it is an act of devotion, of reciprocity. The gods gave their own blood to create the world. You must give yours in return to sustain it. It is also a way of accumulating Tanali, a spiritual energy, a power that allows you to intercede with the divine. The blood-soaked papers are gathered and cast into a blazing brazier, the smoke rising into the night sky as a fragrant and very personal offering. The pain in your ear is a dull throb, a constant reminder of your duty. Your debt has been paid, for now. The day can begin. With your personal sacrifice complete, you turn to your other pre-dawn duties. At the top of the Great Pyramid, and in the dozens of other temples that fill the sacred precinct, are the sacred fires. Each one is dedicated to a specific god, and like the eternal flame of the Romans, they must never be allowed to go out. To let a sacred fire die is a terrible omen, a sign of gross negligence that would bring the wrath of the gods down upon the city. You and the other junior priests are responsible for ensuring this never happens. You check the braziers, add carefully selected logs of wood, and ensure the flames are burning bright and clean against the darkness. As the first hint of dawn appears over the volcanoes to the east, your most intellectually demanding work begins. You descend from the high temples and go to the Kalmakak, which is not just a school, but also the Empire's library and astronomical observatory. Here, you must consult the sacred books, the codices, to understand the nature of the day that is about to begin. You are not just a priest, you are a calendrical specialist, a master of the Tonal Pahwali, the sacred 260-day calendar that governs every aspect of Aztec life. You carefully unroll a Tonalamatal law, a screen-fold book made of bark paper or deerskin, its pages covered in a complex and vibrant language of symbols. Each day is a unique combination of one of 20 day signs, like crocodile, wind, house, or rabbit, and a number from 1 to 13. This combination determines the day's tonali, its innate character and destiny. You must interpret this. Today is the day for wind. You study the corresponding page. The ruling deity is Tonatiuh, the sun god himself. It is a day of good fortune, of creative energy. But it is more complicated than that. You must also consider the lords of the day, the lords of the night, and the bird and colour associated with the day. It is a dizzying, complex matrix of overlapping influences. Your job is to synthesize all of this information into practical guidance. Is today a good day for the emperor to receive tribute? Is it an auspicious day for a merchant to begin a journey? Is it a favourable day for a wedding? The entire empire, from the highest lord to the humblest farmer, runs on the clock of this calendar, and you are its chief interpreter. The fate of millions rests on your ability to correctly read these sacred and deeply complicated signs. Part of your morning is spent as a teacher in the Kalmakak, the very school that shaped and scarred you. This is the elite academy for the children of the nobility, the place where the next generation of priests, generals, and government officials are forged. And the forging is a brutal process. Your students are boys as young as 8, sent by their families to learn the ways of power and piety. The education is one of iron discipline. You are a stern and unforgiving teacher, just as your own teachers were. You must pass on the vast body of knowledge required to run the empire. You teach the boys the Nahuatl writing system, the complex glyphs that record history and sacred knowledge. You drill them for hours on end on the sacred songs, the divine hymns that must be sung perfectly during the great ceremonies. A single mistake in a song is an insult to the gods. You teach them history, the epic stories of the Mexica people's migration to the valley, their triumphs and their gods. You teach them astronomy, the complex movements of the stars and planets that are so deeply intertwined with the calendar and prophecy. But the education is not just intellectual. It is a grueling physical and spiritual ordeal, designed to strip away their childish softness and instill a core of disciplined steel. Boys sleep on thin reed mats on the cold stone floor. Their food is meagre. They are subject to frequent ritual fasting, and penance is a constant. For the smallest infraction, and moments of inattention, a poorly recited verse, they are punished. You yourself administer the punishments. You might order them to perform a night vigil in a cold temple, or you might use the sharp spines of the maguey plant to pierce their skin. This is not seen as cruelty. It is seen as a necessary process of hardening, of preparing them for a life of sacrifice and leadership. You see the fear and the resentment in the young boy's eyes, and you remember your own time here, the constant hunger, the cold, the pain. But you also know that this brutal school is the engine of the empire, the institution that produces the disciplined, fanatically devout men who are capable of holding the world together. Not all of your duties confine you to the sacred precinct of the Templo Maya. You are a public figure, a visible symbol of the god's power, and you must sometimes walk among the people. Today you are sent on an errand to the great market at Tlatelolco, the sister city to Tenochtitlan, connected by a great causeway. The market is one of the wonders of the world, a vast, teeming city within a city, where tens of thousands of people gather to buy, sell, and trade. As you walk through the crowded aisles, your black-robed, blood-matted appearance sets you apart. The people make way for you, their eyes a mixture of reverence and fear. The market is a sensory explosion. The air is thick with the smells of fresh flowers, roasting meats, pungent spices, and the earthy scent of thousands of human bodies. You hear the chatter of a dozen different languages from the far corners of the empire, the shouting of vendors, the gobbling of turkeys in their cages. You see stalls piled high with a dazzling array of goods, shimmering green quetzal feathers, fine painted pottery, piles of red tomatoes and green chilies, bolts of brightly coloured cotton cloth, and precious jade and turquoise. You are here to procure specific, high-quality items needed for an upcoming ceremony. Special copal incense, fine white paper for offerings, and a specific type of sacred flower. But as you move through the crowd, you are constantly stopped. A woman asks for a blessing for her newborn child. A merchant, about to set out on a dangerous journey to the coast, asks you to read an omen for him, to tell him if the day is auspicious. You consult your memory of the day's calendrical signs and give him your solemn advice. A young boy, awestruck, simply touches the hem of your cloak. You are a celebrity, but a dark and dangerous one. You are the people's direct line to the gods, a source of comfort and guidance. But you are also a reminder of the gods' terrifying power, and of the bloody sacrifices they demand. You are the embodiment of the sacred, walking through the profane world of commerce and daily life. You are a necessary and deeply unsettling part of the fabric of your society. When you return to the sacred precinct, a grim and solemn task awaits you. A major festival is in 2 days, one that requires a human sacrifice to honor the sun god, Huitzilopochtli. The victim, a captive warrior taken in a recent flower war with a neighboring state, has been chosen. Your afternoon is to be spent in the ritual preparation of this man for his sacred death. This is not a simple execution. It is a complex and deeply significant piece of state theatre, and every detail must be perfect. The captive is not treated as a criminal. For the duration of the festival, he is a divine impersonator, an Ixiptla. He becomes the living embodiment of the god to whom he will be sacrificed. He is treated with the utmost respect and honour. You and the other priests strip him of his captive's rags and bathe him in sacred water. You dress him in the magnificent costume of the god, a spectacular headdress of Quetzal feathers, a cloak of fine embroidered cotton, and jewellery of gold and jade. For these final days he lives a life of unimaginable luxury. He is feasted with the finest foods, given women to attend him, and entertained by musicians and dancers. He is paraded through the city, and the people bow to him as if he were the god himself. You are one of his attendants. You bring him his food. You light his incense. You speak to him in the reverent tones one would use with a deity. It is a strange and deeply unsettling intimacy. You look into the eyes of this man. You see the pride of a warrior who knows that to die on the sacrificial stone is the most glorious death possible, a death that guarantees him a place in the paradise of the sun. But you also see the fear, the human terror of a young man about to die. Your training has taught you to see him not as a man, but as a vessel, a sacred offering. But in the quiet moments, as you offer him a cup of pulque, the intoxicating cactus wine, you cannot help but see the person. This is the hardest part of your job, the calm, methodical preparation of a fellow human being for his own violent end. The day of the festival arrives. The city of Tenochtitlan is alive with a manic, sacred energy. The air is filled with the deep, resonant booming of the great temple drums, the huehuetlas, a sound that can be heard for miles around. Tens of thousands of people have gathered in the great plaza at the foot of the Templo Mayor, their upturned faces a vast sea of humanity. The time has come. The sacrificial procession begins. The captive, the god impersonator, is the centre of it all. He walks with a calm, stately dignity, as if he is truly a god going to meet his fate. He is flanked by you and a host of other priests. Our black robes and blood-matted hair, a stark contrast to his brilliant costume. The procession moves slowly through the crowd, towards the great twin pyramids of the Templo Mayor. One pyramid is dedicated to Tlaloc, the god of rain. The other, the taller southern pyramid, is dedicated to your patron, the fearsome Huitzilopochtli. It is this one you will ascend. You reach the base of the pyramid. The climb begins. There are 114 steps to the summit, each one steep and narrow. The ascent is slow, deliberate, and theatrical. Every person in the vast plaza can see you. The drums beat a steady, heart-like rhythm. You climb, the high-altitude air thin in your lungs. The city spreads out below you, a magnificent and dizzying sight. The straight causeways, the shimmering canals, the white-plastered buildings. As you near the top, the sounds of the city fade, replaced by the howl of the wind and the pounding of the drums. You are climbing from the world of men into the world of the gods. You have done this many times, but a sense of awesome, terrifying dread never leaves you. You are about to become a conduit for the most powerful forces in the universe. You are about to perform the act upon which the continued existence of the sun, the sky, and the earth depends. You reach the summit. It is a high, flat platform, stained dark from the blood of 1,000 previous sacrifices. At the center is the sacrificial stone, the Tek Cattle, a convex block of carved stone designed to arch the victim's back. Behind it looms the grim, idol-crammed temple of the god. The air up here is thin and cold. You are now on the celestial stage, at the center of the cosmos. The victim is led to the stone. He does not struggle. He has been drinking the sacred pulque, and he is in a state of resigned divine intoxication. He knows his glorious destiny. This is the moment, the brutal reality that underpins your entire civilization. 4 lesser priests, their bodies painted with sacred symbols, take hold of the victim's arms and legs and stretch him backwards over the stone, his chest arched towards the sky. The great drums reach a frantic, deafening crescendo. You are the one who has been chosen for the final act. You step forward, the ceremonial flint knife, the tekpatlo in your hand. It is a fearsome instrument, its blade of razor-sharp, flaked flint set in a handle of carved wood. The lector priest chants the final sacred verses. You raise the knife, and with a single powerful and highly practiced motion, you drive the blade into the victim's chest, just below the ribcage, and cut upwards. You reach into the opening, your hand pushing past bone and tissue. You grasp the man's heart. With a swift, sawing motion, you sever the arteries and pull it free. It emerges into the sunlight, still beating, a steaming, living jewel. You hold the heart up to the sky, an offering to the sun god. "This is your food," you chant. You are feeding the sun. You are giving it the Chalchihuatlnan, the precious water of human life. The energy it needs to continue its journey across the sky and to win its nightly battle against the forces of darkness. The victim's body is then pushed from the platform, tumbling down the steep steps of the pyramid to the plaza below. It is a dramatic final offering to the earth. The great drums fall silent. A collective sigh, a release of tension, seems to rise from the crowd below. The ceremony is over. You and the other priests are spattered with the blood of the sacrifice. It is warm and sticky on your skin. There is no feeling of elation or of cruelty. There is only a grim, solemn sense of a vital and necessary task completed. You have done your duty. You have paid the debt. You have maintained the cosmic balance for one more day. You look out from the top of the pyramid, over the magnificent city you call home. You see the floating gardens, the bustling canals, the thousands of homes and palaces. It is the greatest city in the world, a marvel of human ingenuity. And in your worldview, it is all powered by the gruesome ritual you have just performed. Your life as a priest is not one of quiet contemplation. It is one of immense and constant pressure. You are a technician, a maintenance worker on the great, precarious machine of the universe. Your days are a grueling, endless cycle of personal penance, intricate scholarship, and bloody ritual. You are a keeper of time, a reader of fates, a teacher of the elite, and a sacred executioner. You have sacrificed a normal life, the comfort of family, the pleasure of personal property, for this. To stand here, on the roof of the world, between the realm of humanity and the realm of the hungry gods, and to do what must be done to keep the darkness at bay. The Aztec priest was not simply a man of faith. He was a pillar of the state, a scholar, and a cosmic functionary. His entire existence was a testament to his civilization's terrifying and deeply held belief that the universe was a fragile, hostile place, and that humanity's survival depended on a constant bloody negotiation with the gods. His life was one of almost unimaginable discipline and self-denial, all in service of a single, profound and brutal purpose: to hold the still beating heart of a fellow human being up to the sky, and in doing so, to ensure that the sun would rise again tomorrow. When we think of the Ottoman Empire, we often picture powerful sultans, grand mosques, and the formidable Janissary armies. But behind all that power was another, equally impressive institution: the imperial kitchen. We have this romantic idea of exotic feasts and luxurious banquets. The brutal reality is that the kitchens of the Sultan's palace were less a restaurant and more a military-industrial complex. A fiercely competitive and highly disciplined world where hundreds of chefs worked like soldiers. A botched pilaf could be a matter of state security, and the simple act of serving soup was loaded with political dynamite. We are travelling to the magnificent heart of a vast empire, a city that straddles two continents. The year is 1550, the reign of Sultan Suleiman. The Magnificent is at its zenith, and you are a young man with a sharp knife and an even sharper ambition, about to enter the most demanding kitchen on earth. You stand before a series of vast, smoke-stained buildings in the second courtyard of the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. This is the Matba-e-Amire, the Imperial Kitchens. To call it a kitchen is a profound understatement. It is a sprawling complex of 10 great kitchens, each crowned with a high conical dome, a city of culinary industry that feeds up to 15,000 people a day. You are a young man from a village in Anatolia, and after years of apprenticeship in a local cookhouse, and a carefully worded letter of recommendation from your old master, you have been accepted as a novice. It is the opportunity of a lifetime. You walk through the gates, and the scale of the operation is overwhelming. The air is a thick, chaotic soup of 1,000 smells. The sharp, savoury scent of lamb grilling over charcoal, the sweet perfume of simmering fruit compotes, the warm, comforting aroma of baking bread, and the ever-present, acrid smell of wood smoke. The noise is a constant, deafening roar, the clang of copper pots, the rhythmic chop of hundreds of knives on wooden blocks, the sizzle of oil, and the shouts of master chefs barking orders in a dozen different languages. You see hundreds of men, all dressed in the uniform of the palace kitchens, simple white tunics and conical hats, moving with a frantic, purposeful energy. This is not just a workplace. It is a branch of the military. The kitchen staff is organized into regiments or okaks, each with its own barracks, its own hierarchy, and its own fiercely guarded traditions. You are not just starting a new job. You are a raw recruit enlisting in the culinary army of the most powerful man in the world. And you are starting at the very bottom of the food chain. Your dream is to one day become an usta, a master chef, perhaps even the master of the confectioners, whose skill with sugar is legendary. But your first day, and indeed your first year, will be spent far from any actual food. You are assigned to the lowest rank, a member of the crew responsible for fuel and water. You are a wood chopper and a water carrier. Your days are a grueling cycle of back-breaking, repetitive labour. You join a line of other apprentices, hauling massive buckets of water from the palace cisterns to the kitchens, your shoulders aching, your hands raw from the heavy wooden yokes. Or you are sent to the great wood piles, where you spend 10 hours a day splitting logs for the hundreds of fires and ovens that are the insatiable heart of the kitchen complex. The work is a test of your strength, your endurance, and most importantly, your humility. The master chefs, the ustas, watch you. They are not just looking for a strong back. They are looking for a man who does not complain, who understands that before you can learn to create, you must first learn to serve. Many apprentices wash out at this stage, their romantic dreams of culinary glory broken by the grim reality of manual labour. You are surrounded by a rigid and unforgiving hierarchy. You must show absolute deference to everyone above you, from the junior cooks all the way up to the master chefs and the chief of the kitchen, the ashchibasha, who is a high-ranking officer of the court. A moment of disrespect, a poorly executed task, and you could be punished with a beating, or worse, expelled from the palace in disgrace. So you keep your head down, you chop the wood, you haul the water, and you watch. You watch and you learn, waiting for your chance to prove you are worthy of touching the Sultan's food. After a year of grueling labour, your diligence has been noticed. You are promoted. You are assigned to a specific culinary regiment. You are to become a pilaf maker. You are led to the barracks of the pilaf makers, a long hall where dozens of other cooks, all dedicated to this single dish, live and work. Rice pilaf is not just a side dish in the Ottoman court. It is a cornerstone of the cuisine, a benchmark of a chef's skill. To make a perfect pilaf, one where every grain of rice is separate, fluffy, and perfectly cooked, is a high art. And you are now its newest and most ignorant student. Your new usta, a stern, wiry man named Murad, is a legend in the kitchens, a man said to be able to tell the origin of a rice grain just by its feel. Your training is intense and narrowly focused. You spend weeks just learning to wash the rice, the first and most critical step. You must wash it until the water runs perfectly clear, removing every trace of excess starch. Master Murad will inspect your work, and if he finds the slightest cloudiness in the water, you must start again. Then you learn the secrets of the cooking liquid, the precise ratio of clarified butter to chicken or lamb broth. You learn about the seasonings, the delicate balance of salt, saffron, and cinnamon. You practice for months on a small secondary stove, making pot after pot of pilaf that is tasted, criticised, and usually thrown out. Too sticky, Murad will bark, tasting a spoonful. The rice grains are weeping, or too dry. Are you trying to serve the Sultan a bowl of sand? It is a frustrating and humbling process. You are part of a vast culinary machine, but your entire world has shrunk to this single maddeningly difficult dish. You dream of rice. You smell of clarified butter. But slowly you begin to understand. You learn to feel the rice, to listen to the sound it makes in the pot, to know by instinct when it is perfectly cooked. One day, you present your pilaf to Master Murad. He tastes it. He is silent for a long moment. It is acceptable, he grunts. It is the highest praise you have ever received. Your skill and your delicate touch have not gone unnoticed. After several years in the Pilaf regiment, you are given a new, highly prestigious assignment. You are transferred to the Helva Hain, the House of Halva. This is the confectionery of the palace, but it is also much more. It is the domain of the chief halva maker, the Helva Kobasha, a powerful officer. The Helva Hain is not just a dessert kitchen, it is also the palace pharmacy, the place where medicinal pastes, syrups, and tonics are made. You enter a world of exotic and intoxicating smells. The air is thick with the scent of boiling sugar, of fragrant rosewater, of expensive spices like musk and ambergris. Here, the line between food and medicine is beautifully and deliciously blurred. You are now working with the most precious ingredients in the empire. Sugar, imported at great expense from Egypt, is treated like a jewel. You learn the precise science of sugar boiling, the different stages, thread, ball, crack, that are essential for creating different textures. You learn to make dozens of varieties of halva, the dense, sweet confection of sesame paste or flour and sugar. You craft mountains of baklava, its paper-thin layers of pastry painstakingly brushed with butter and layered with pistachios. You learn to make lokums, or Turkish delight, and sweet, jewel-coloured sherbets, flavoured with pomegranate, tamarind, and violets, and cooled with snow brought down from the mountains of Bursa. It is a world of incredible sweetness and refinement. But you also learn to make the makan, the medicinal pastes prescribed by the palace physicians. These are complex concoctions of dozens of herbs, spices, and other stranger ingredients, all bound together in a sweet honey or sugar base. One paste is for strength, another for digestion, another to calm the nerves. You are now both a pastry chef and a pharmacist's assistant, and it's often difficult to tell where one job ends and the other begins. The Sultan is known to have a legendary sweet tooth and a particular fondness for a restorative makans. The pressure to create perfect, delicious, and medically effective confections is immense. As you rise in the ranks of the Helverhain, you're sometimes given the responsibility of accompanying a palace purchasing officer, a mutfak emini, to the great markets of Istanbul. This is your chance to see the vast, sprawling supply chain that feeds the insatiable appetite of the palace. You leave the orderly world of the palace and plunge into the chaotic, vibrant heart of the city's commerce. You visit the Spice Bazaar, a cavernous building filled with the intoxicating aromas of 100 different spices, piled high in colourful mountains. Cinnamon from Ceylon, cloves from the Moluccas, pepper from India. Your job is not simply to buy these ingredients, it is to source the absolute best. The palace has its own dedicated suppliers, merchants who have been granted the immense privilege of selling to the Sultan. You are there to inspect the goods, to ensure their quality. You taste the honey. You check the pistachios for any sign of mould. You assess the fragrance of the rosewater. The palace demands perfection. The lamb must come from a specific region in Thrace, the olives from a particular grove on the Aegean coast, the apricots from Damascus. The kitchens are a living map of the Ottoman Empire's vast reach, every dish a testament to its economic power. You see the incredible logistics required to keep this culinary empire running. Carts laden with fresh vegetables from the city's gardens, boats carrying fish from the Bosphorus, caravans bringing spices from the Silk Road. It all converges here. The purchasing officer keeps meticulous records, a complex accounting of every single item, its price, its origin. It is a staggering feat of bureaucracy and organisation. It's a strange feeling to be a powerful and respected buyer from the palace. The merchants, who are wealthy and important men in their own right, treat you with a deep, almost fearful respect. A good word from you could make a merchant's fortune. A complaint could ruin him. You are a gatekeeper to the most important customer in the world. As you make your way back to the palace, your attendants carrying chests of precious saffron and strings of dried figs, you understand that the power of the Sultan is not just in his armies, but in his pantry. One day, a wave of controlled panic and excitement ripples through the kitchens. A delegation of ambassadors from the rival Republic of Venice is due to arrive. The Sultan has ordered a great feast to be held in their honor. This is not just a dinner party. This is a political weapon. It is an act of culinary shock and awe, a carefully choreographed performance designed to display the unimaginable wealth, sophistication, and power of the Ottoman Empire. And the entire kitchen staff is mobilized for war. The chief of the kitchen holds a council of his master chefs. The menu is planned like a military campaign. Hundreds of dishes must be prepared. Every regiment of the kitchen is put on high alert. The bakers will produce dozens of different kinds of bread. The pilaf makers will craft mountains of fragrant jewel-like rice. The kebab makers will grill hundreds of skewers of lamb, chicken, and beef. And your department, the Helverhain, is tasked with creating a dessert display so vast and spectacular that it will leave the Venetians speechless. The days leading up to the feast are a blur of frantic, focused activity. The kitchens, normally a hive of activity, are now a roaring inferno of production. The noise is deafening. The heat is intense. Tempers fray. The pressure is astronomical. A single poorly cooked dish, a single moment of failure, would not just be a culinary mistake. It would be a diplomatic incident, an insult to the Sultan himself. You work for 36 hours straight, surviving on snatched moments of sleep and endless cups of strong black coffee. You and your team craft elaborate sugar sculptures, build towering pyramids of baklava, and prepare gallons of fragrant sherbet. On the day of the feast, the dishes are carried in a great procession to the divan, the Imperial Council Hall. You catch a glimpse of the ambassadors. Their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief as wave after wave of food is brought before them. There are whole roasted lambs, stuffed with rice and pistachios. There are platters of fish, artfully arranged to look as though they are still swimming. There are dozens of vegetable dishes, soups, pastries, and salads. It is a tidal wave of food, a demonstration of a power so immense it can casually produce a feast of this magnitude. You feel a profound sense of pride. You are a soldier in this army, and you have won a great victory. On a quieter, more ordinary day, a different kind of tension fills the kitchens. It is payday for the Janissaries, the elite infantry corps of the Sultan's army. And on payday, it is tradition for the Sultan to provide them with a meal. You are assigned to the soup regiment, tasked with preparing the great cauldrons of lentil soup and rice pilaf that will be served to the troops in the palace courtyard. This is not a simple catering job. The relationship between the Janissaries and their food is deep, symbolic, and incredibly volatile. The Janissary Corps is organized around the metaphor of the kitchen. Their commander is the chief soup maker. Other officers have titles like head cook or head water carrier. Their symbol of office is not a flag, but a great soup cauldron, the kazana. The cauldron is the heart of their barracks, the symbol of their unity and their loyalty to the Sultan, who provides for them. To eat the Sultan's soup is to accept his authority. To refuse it is an act of rebellion. You stir the massive cauldron of soup with a paddle-like spoon, the steam rising into your face. The older chefs have told you the stories, the cautionary tales. They tell you of times when the Janissaries were displeased with a delayed payment, a new regulation, or an unpopular Grand Vizier. The signal for their rebellion, the first act of their terrifying and often bloody mutinies, is always the same. They will march into the courtyard, and they will overturn their cauldrons. The sight of the overturned kazan, the Sultan's soup spilled upon the ground, is the most feared political symbol in the empire. It means the Janissaries are no longer eating his food. It means they are at war with him. So as you prepare their meal, you do so with a special anxious care. You ensure the soup is perfectly seasoned, the pilaf perfectly cooked. The fate of the empire, you joke grimly with the other cooks, could rest on the quality of this one. Simple meal. When the Janissaries arrive and eat their soup with a contented silence, a collective sigh of relief goes through the kitchens. The cauldrons remain upright. The empire is stable for another day. After decades of service, you have risen to the highest echelons of the culinary world. You are an uster, a master chef, respected and feared in equal measure. And one day, you are granted the ultimate honor. You are summoned to work in the kushina, the aviary kitchen. This is the small private kitchen located next to the Sultan's personal chambers, responsible only for preparing the food for the ruler of the empire himself. This is the most elite and the most stressful kitchen in the world. Here, the vast industrial scale of the main kitchens is gone. It is a small, quiet, and intensely focused environment. Only a handful of the most trusted master chefs are allowed to work here. The ingredients are the best of the best, the techniques the most refined. You are no longer cooking for thousands. You are cooking for one. But that one man is the shadow of God on earth, and his palate is the most discerning in the world. But the pressure comes not just from the demand for culinary perfection. It comes from the constant terrifying fear of poison. The life of the Sultan is a life of perpetual risk from assassins and political rivals, and the easiest way to reach a reclusive monarch is through his food. The security in the kushain is absolute. The kitchen is guarded day and night. No ingredient enters without being checked and double-checked, and no dish goes to the Sultan's table without being tasted. The Cheshnichibasha, the chief taster, is one of the most important men in the palace. He is a human poison detector. Before the Sultan takes a single bite, the chief taster must sample the dish first. You watch as this man, whose job is to risk death at every meal, tastes the delicate dish of chicken and apricots you have just prepared. He waits a few moments. He does not fall to the floor convulsing. He nods. The dish is safe. Only then is it served to the Sultan. You have cooked a perfect meal, and more importantly, you have not accidentally killed the most powerful man in the world. You are an old man now. Your back is stooped from a lifetime spent bent over stoves and tables. Your hands are a mass of scars from 1,000 burns and cuts. You are a usta, a master in charge of your own regiment of cooks in the great kitchens. You watch the new novices arrive, their faces filled with the same mixture of terror and ambition that was once on your own. You see the fear in their eyes as you taste their first clumsy attempts at pilaf. You have become Master Murad. You have spent your entire life within the walls of this palace, within this city of food. You have cooked for thousands of soldiers, and for a single all-powerful sultan. You have cooked dishes of humble simplicity and of almost unimaginable luxury. You have seen food used as a weapon, as a symbol of rebellion, as a tool of diplomacy, and as a form of medicine. You understand, more than any politician or general, the true foundation of the empire. You know that the Ottoman Empire is not held together by armies or laws alone. It is held together by the steady, reliable supply of bread to the people of Istanbul. It is held together by the promise of the Sultan's soup in the Janissaries' cauldrons. And it is held together by the spectacular, overwhelming feasts that prove to the world that your master is the richest and most powerful sovereign on earth. You are not just a cook. You are a pillar of the state, a guardian of the empire's health, its stability, and its glorious, delicious reputation. The cuisine of the Ottoman palace was not simply about food. It was a complex and powerful institution, an integral part of the imperial machine. It was a fiercely competitive world of military discipline and refined artistry, where hundreds of chefs toiled in a vast, sprawling complex to produce meals that were at once a daily necessity and a potent symbol of global power. The chefs of the Sultan were not merely servants. They were culinary soldiers and artists, vital cogs in the magnificent and often brutal theatre of the Ottoman court. When you picture Renaissance Venice, what do you see? Probably the sun-dappled canals, the magnificent palaces, and at the heart of it all, a lone gondolier in a striped shirt, poling a graceful black boat while singing a romantic tune. It's a beautiful, serene image. The brutal reality, however, was a life of grueling physical labour, fierce competition, and a daily commute through what was essentially the city's sewer system. The gondolier wasn't just a charming boatman. He was a highly skilled operator, a member of a cutthroat guild, and the silent keeper of every dirty little secret in the most splendid and squalid city on earth. We are about to glide into the heart of the Venetian Republic, a city of impossible beauty and staggering contradictions. The year is 1550, the water is waiting, and your very long day is about to begin. The first light of dawn has not yet touched the terracotta roofs of Venice, but you are already awake. The air in your small, cramped apartment in the Castello district is thick and humid, carrying the ever-present faint scent of salt and decay. You rise from your simple straw mattress. You are a gondolier. It is not just a job. It is your identity, your blood right. Your father was a gondolier, and his father before him, all members of the powerful and ancient guild. The ore is your inheritance, the canals your destiny. Your first thought is not of breakfast, but of her, your gondola. She is not just a boat, she is a priceless, high-maintenance asset, the source of your family's livelihood, and a testament to your professional pride. You make your way through the silent sleeping alleyways to the small private mooring where she is kept. In the pre-dawn gloom, her long black form is an elegant, sleeping serpent on the water. She is a marvel of engineering, nearly 36 feet long, but weighing over 1,000 pounds, crafted from 8 different kinds of wood: oak for the frame, lime for the sides, larch, fir, cherry, each chosen for its specific properties of strength and flexibility. Your first task of the day is the ritual of cleaning. You take a soft cloth and wipe the morning's dew from the 14 coats of gleaming black lacquer. By law, all gondolas, except for those used on ceremonial occasions, must be painted black, a sumptuary law designed to curb the ostentatious displays of the wealthy nobles. You bail out any water that has collected in the bilge. You check the forcula, that intricate hand-carved wooden oarlock that is as much a sculpture as a piece of functional equipment. You inspect your oar, the remo, a long, beautifully balanced shaft of beechwood, its edge protected by a metal strip. Your gondola is your partner, your tool, and your stage. She must be perfect. You are not just a boatman. You are the chauffeur of the world's most unique city, and in the cutthroat world of Renaissance Venice, a man is judged by the state of his vessel. A dirty boat is the sign of a lazy, unprofessional gondolier, and one who will soon find himself without any fares. With your gondola gleaming and ready, you push off from the mooring. The only sound in the stillness of the dawn is the gentle splash of your oar in the dark water and the soft, rhythmic creak of the oar in the forcula. You are heading for your stazio, your designated station, a prime spot near the home of a wealthy merchant family who often hire you. Getting there early is critical. The life of a gondolier is a life of constant competition. You arrive at the stazio, a small wooden landing on a minor canal, to find that 2 other gondoliers are already there, their black boats tied up, their owners leaning against the mooring posts in a posture of casual indolence that hides a sharp, competitive edge. You exchange terse, formal greetings. This is not a friendly gathering of colleagues. It is a tense, daily negotiation for business. The Gondoliers Guild is a powerful and fiercely territorial organisation. Each stazio is controlled by a small group of licensed gondoliers, and an outsider who tries to pick up a fare here would be met with swift and likely violent consequences. Even among the licensed members, there is a strict pecking order. The older, more established gondoliers get the first pick of the fares. You, as a younger man, must wait your turn. So, you wait. You tie up your gondola and join the others, leaning against a damp stone wall, affecting an air of boredom, while your eyes dart around, watching for the first sign of a potential customer emerging from the grand palazzo across the canal. The waiting is a huge part of your day. It is a time for exchanging gossip, for complaining about the low fares, for reinforcing the unwritten rules of the guild. You hear a story about a gondolier who was caught overcharging a foreign tourist and was fined heavily by the guild masters. You hear another about a fight that broke out at a different stazio over a stolen fare. It is a world of constant, low-level tension. Your income for the day, your ability to feed your family, depends on what happens on this small, damp landing in the next few hours. The serene, romantic image of your profession is a facade. The reality is a hustle. Finally, the great wooden door of the palazzo across the canal opens. A servant emerges, followed by a portly man dressed in fine silk robes. It is Signor Foscari, the silk merchant. He is heading to the Rialto market, the commercial heart of the city. It is your turn. The senior gondolier gives you a subtle nod. You untie your boat and, with a few deft strokes, bring your gondola perfectly alongside the landing steps. You hold the boat steady with your oar as the merchant steps in, settling himself onto the cushioned seat in the centre. With your passenger aboard, you push off. Now the art begins. The Venetian style of rowing, the voga alla veneta, is unique in all the world. You stand on the stern, facing forward, with a single long oar. It is a full-body movement, a subtle and powerful dance of balance and leverage. It is not about brute strength. It is about a smooth, efficient transfer of power from your legs, through your core, and into the oar. You push rather than pull the oar through the water, a technique that allows you to see where you are going and to make precise, delicate adjustments to your course. You begin by navigating the smaller, quieter canals, the Rye Eyes. These are the back streets of Venice, a maze of narrow waterways between towering, crumbling buildings. Here the water is still, and your gondola glides almost silently. The only sounds are the liquid music of your oar and the distant cry of a vendor. You pass under small, arched stone bridges, ducking your head slightly. You see the daily life of the city unfold at water level. A woman lowering a basket from a window to collect groceries from a boat, children playing on a set of stone steps, a cat sunning itself on a windowsill. This is the Venice of quiet beauty, the city of secrets, but your destination is the Grand Canal, and you know that this peaceful silent glide is about to come to an abrupt and chaotic end. Your job is not just to propel the boat, but to do it with a serene, seemingly effortless grace that belies the intense physical exertion and mental focus it requires. You make a final turn and you emerge from the narrow back canal onto the Grand Canal. And the world explodes into chaos. The Grand Canal is not a serene waterway. It is the main highway of a major maritime republic, and it is rush hour. The water is a churning, congested mess of traffic. Great, heavy-laden merchant barges, low in the water, plough their way towards the Rialto. Smaller, faster boats zip between them, their oarsmen shouting. And everywhere there are other gondolas, a swarm of black, elegant waterbugs, all vying for space. This is where your skill as a gondolier is truly tested. You must navigate this aquatic anarchy with a vessel that is 36 feet long and inherently unstable. The wake from the larger boats makes the water choppy, and you must use your body as a counterweight, constantly shifting your balance to keep the gondola stable. It is a physically grueling task, a constant full-body workout. Your seemingly effortless grace is, in reality, a product of years of training and finely honed muscle memory. The greatest danger is at the intersections, the blind corners where a side canal meets the main thoroughfare. Here you rely not on your eyes, but on your voice. As you approach a blind corner, you call out a loud, resonant warning cry. Oi! You shout, a sound that echoes off the stone walls. An answering call comes from around the corner, letting you know another boat is approaching. There is a whole vocabulary of these calls, a language of the canals that allows you to navigate by sound. It is less a romantic glide and more a high-stress aquatic ballet, a constant negotiation with the other 1,000 boats on the water. You joke with the other gondoliers that a blind man could navigate Venice, as long as he could shout, but the humour hides a constant low-level anxiety. A collision wouldn't only be dangerous, it would be a professional disgrace, a costly mistake that would earn you the scorn of your fellow guild members. As you pole your way down the Grand Canal, you are caught between two opposing realities. Above you there is the breathtaking splendour of Venice. You glide past magnificent palazzos, their marble and Istrian stone facades a dazzling display of the city's immense wealth. You see the intricate Gothic windows, the balconies overflowing with flowers, the liveried servants waiting on the water steps. It is the most beautiful city in the world, a testament to the power and artistry of the Venetian Republic. But below you there is the stench. The serene, shimmering water of the canals is, to put it bluntly, a sewer. It is the city's garbage dump, its toilet, its industrial waste canal. As you glide past a glorious palace, you must hold your breath against the overpowering odour of human and animal waste, of rotting food and other unidentifiable filth that has been unceremoniously tossed from a window. You use your oar to push aside a floating clump of refuse. You face an impassive mask. Your passenger, the wealthy merchant, seems not to notice. He is used to it. This is the great paradox of Venice. It is a city of sublime beauty built upon a foundation of its own filth. This is the brutal sensory reality of your daily life. You spend your days poling through this fragrant cocktail of splendour and squalor. The water that laps against the side of your beautiful black-lacquered boat is a murky brown soup. You occasionally see the bloated body of a dead dog, or even a person, floating in the quieter canals. It is a grim, but not uncommon sight. You are the boatman on the river Styx, ferrying your passengers through a world that is at once a paradise and a cesspool. And your job is to make it look effortless, to maintain the elegant illusion, even as your nostrils are filled with the city's foulest perfumes. After dropping the merchant at the bustling Rialto, you spend the next few hours ferrying passengers on shorter trips. Then, in the late afternoon, you get a more intriguing fare. A servant hails you from the steps of a minor palazzo. Two figures emerge, a man and a woman, both dressed in fine clothes, but with their faces obscured by the classic beaked masks of the Venetian carnival season, even though it is not that time of year. They are clearly nobles, and they are clearly seeking anonymity. They instruct you in a hushed whisper to simply row. You know what this means. You are now a floating, confidential taxi service. You pole their way from the main canals into the quiet, labyrinthine backwaters of the city. As you glide through the shadows, they begin to speak, their voices low and urgent. You hear whispers of a political plot, of a secret denunciation being made to the dreaded Council of Ten. Or perhaps it is the planning of a clandestine affair, a secret meeting between lovers from rival families. You are a trained professional. You make yourself invisible. Your face is a blank slate. You are deaf. You are dumb. You are simply the engine of their secrets. This is one of the most important and most dangerous parts of your job. As the primary mode of transportation for the city's elite, the gondoliers are the repositories of a million secrets. You overhear everything. You know who is sleeping with whom, who is in debt, who is plotting against whom. This knowledge is a strange kind of power. You are at the very bottom of the social ladder, yet you possess information that could ruin the most powerful men in the city. You and your fellow gondoliers have your own unwritten code. You do not speak of what you hear in your boat. To do so would be professional suicide. No one would ever hire a gossip. But the information is still valuable. It is traded in whispers among the gondoliers at the Stasi and in the taverns. It helps you know who to trust, who is dangerous, who is a generous tipper. But you are always aware of the risk. Knowing the wrong secret, being the witness to the wrong conversation, could get you a knife in the back and a new home at the bottom of a canal. The day's hard work is finally over. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. You pole your gondola to a small, dark, waterside tavern, a baccaro, the preferred haunt of the gondoliers in your district. You tie up your boat and step inside. The air is thick with the smell of cheap wine, fried fish, and damp wool. This is the true heart of the Gondoliers' Guild, the place where the real business of the canals is conducted. You join a group of your fellow boatmen, sharing a flask of wine and a plate of cicchetti, small snacks of bread and fish. The talk is loud, boisterous, and all about the trade. You hear men complaining about the new regulations from the Doge's palace. You hear a heated argument over the boundaries of a particular stazio. And you hear the gossip, the lifeblood of the city, the information gleaned from a day spent ferrying its secrets. You learn that a powerful senator is on the verge of bankruptcy, and that a famous courtesan has a new, wealthy protector. This is your community, a rough, proud, and fiercely independent brotherhood of men who share the same unique life. They are your rivals on the water, but here, on dry land, they are your allies. They are the only ones who understand the ache in your shoulders, the constant anxiety of the job, the strange, intimate knowledge you have of the city's secret heart. A dispute breaks out at the other end of the room. Two gondoliers are arguing over a fare, their voices rising in anger. For a moment, it looks like it will come to blows. But the guild's informal enforcers, two huge older gondoliers, step in and separate them. Disputes are handled internally. The guild protects its own. You are part of a powerful self-policing tribe, a city within the city, with its own laws, its own language, and its own fierce code of honor. Just as you are about to head home, a servant finds you. A wealthy young nobleman requires your services for one last job. He wants to hire you for a serenade. This is the image of your profession that will endure for centuries, the one that is almost a complete fiction. You sigh. The pay is good, but your body aches. Still, you agree. You pole your gondola to the appointed place, where you pick up the young nobleman and a lutenist he has hired. Your task is to glide beneath the window of the young man's beloved, a balcony on a dark, quiet side canal. As the lutenist begins to play a soft, romantic tune, and the nobleman begins to sing in a passionate, if slightly off-key voice, your job is one of intense, unromantic concentration. You must keep the gondola perfectly still in the gentle current, using subtle, almost invisible movements of your oar. You must not bump against the wall. You must not make a sound. You are the silent, invisible stage manager for this small, romantic play. The moonlight reflects off the water. The music is beautiful. The scene is a perfect Venetian postcard. But you feel none of it. Your mind is on the ache in your back, the fee you have been promised, and the desire to get home to your own bed. The young lady appears on the balcony. A flower is dropped, and the serenade is a success. The nobleman is ecstatic. He pays you generously. For him, it was a moment of pure romance. For you, it was just the late shift. You finally pole your gondola back to its mooring for the night. The city is quiet now. The canals are dark and empty. The water a sheet of black glass that reflects the moon and the stars. You carefully cover your gondola with a heavy canvas cloth to protect it from the night's dampness. You stand for a moment on the stone steps, looking out over the sleeping city. Your body is a single, deep, throbbing ache. You've been on your feet for nearly 18 hours, a human engine powering the life of this impossible city. You have been a chauffeur, a tour guide, a navigator of chaos, a mover of goods, a keeper of secrets, and a facilitator of romance, all in a single day. You have glided past more beauty than most people see in a lifetime, and you have poled your way through more filth than they could possibly imagine. You are a living paradox, just like the city you serve. The Venetian gondolier was not just a singer in a striped shirt. He was a master of a unique and punishingly difficult craft, a shrewd businessman, and the silent, ever-present witness to the secret heart of the world's most extraordinary city. He was the vital engine of Venice, navigating a world of sublime beauty and unspeakable squalor, a city built on water and powered by the relentless, anonymous strength of the men who knew how to walk upon it. When we walk through a museum today, we see the portrait busts of the ancient Romans, stern, serious, and incredibly realistic. And we think of them as high art. We imagine a lone, inspired sculptor, a Michelangelo of his day, lovingly crafting a masterpiece in a quiet, sunlit studio. The brutal reality is that a Roman sculptor was less a romantic artist and more a skilled, blue-collar craftsman. His studio was a noisy, dusty factory, and his job was to run a business, creating a very specific product for a culture that wasn't interested in beauty, but in a brand of hyperrealism that celebrated every wrinkle, wart, and sagging jowl. We are travelling to the heart of the Roman Republic, a city of ruthless ambition and profound pride. The year is 75 BC. You are a master sculptor, an artifacts, and a very important and very demanding client has just walked through your door. The man who stands in the dusty shaft of light filtering into your workshop is Lucius Cornelius Valerius, a senator who has just been elected consul, the highest office in the Republic. He is in his 60s, a man whose face is a roadmap of his career. It is a landscape of stern lines, a furrowed brow, and the deep-set eyes of a man accustomed to command. He has not come here to be made beautiful. He has come here to be made eternal. He wishes to commission a portrait bust in marble, one that will one day stand in the atrium of his home, alongside the wax masks of his illustrious ancestors. This is not a negotiation about art. It is a business transaction. You are a craftsman, the proprietor of this workshop, or officina. Your name is respected, and your prices are high. Lucius does not speak of beauty or aesthetics. He speaks of gravitas, that essential Roman virtue of dignity and seriousness. He speaks of dignitas, his public standing. He wants a portrait that conveys a lifetime of service to the Republic, a face that shows the burdens of command and the wisdom of age. In short, he wants you to make his wrinkles look important. You study him, your artist's eye assessing his features, but your craftsman's mind is already calculating the cost, the size of the bust, the quality of the marble, the intricacy of the carving. These are the details you discuss. You agree on a price, a handsome sum that will keep your workshop running for the next 6 months. He will come for the first of several sittings next week. As he leaves, stepping from the dusty chaos of your workshop back into the noise of the Roman street, you are left with the commission. You must take this man of flesh and blood, a man of ambition and vanity, and turn him into an icon, a permanent stone ancestor. The first and most expensive decision you must make is the stone itself. A masterpiece cannot be born from flawed material. You leave the workshop in the hands of your senior apprentice and make your way down to the great marble yards near the river Tiber. This is where the raw, untamed power of the mountains is brought to the city. Massive, rough-hewn blocks of marble, quarried hundreds of miles away, lie in great, silent herds, waiting to be chosen. The air is filled with the grinding sound of stone being moved on rollers, and the shouts of the foreman. You are not just looking for a white rock. You are a connoisseur, part sculptor, part geologist. You run your hand over the different types of stone. There is the brilliant, large crystalled marble from the Greek island of Paros, a favourite for its luminous, almost translucent quality. There is the fine-grained, pure white marble from the newly opened quarries at Carrara in northern Italy, a stone that will one day be the favourite of Michelangelo. Each has its own character, its own way of capturing the light. You walk the yard for hours, inspecting the blocks. You are looking for the impossible. Perfection. You scan the surfaces for the telltale dark veins or yellowish stains that could ruin a finished piece. More importantly, you are looking for what you cannot see. You tap the great blocks with a small iron hammer, listening intently to the sound. A clear, ringing tone suggests the stone is solid. A dull thud could mean a hidden internal fracture, a flaw that might not reveal itself until months of work have been invested, causing the entire piece to shatter under a misplaced chisel blow. Choosing a block of marble is a high-stakes gamble. It is the single greatest expense of the commission. You finally find it. A handsome block of Carrara marble, large enough for a life-sized bust, with a clean, consistent colour and a promising ring to it. You make the purchase and arrange for a team of labourers and a heavy ox cart to transport the mountain fragment to your workshop. The raw material has been secured. Now, the messy, noisy, and deeply human work of transformation can begin. The great block of marble, weighing well over 1,000 pounds, arrives at your officina. Your workshop is not the quiet, contemplative studio of modern myth. It is a noisy, dusty, open-air factory. It is a place of hard, physical labour, organized like any other Roman trade, with a strict hierarchy of skill. You are the master, the artifacts. Under you are your journeymen, skilled carvers, who have completed their apprenticeship but are not yet masters themselves. And at the bottom are the apprentices, the discipules, young boys who do the grunt work in exchange for learning the trade. Your first task is to transfer the senator's likeness to the stone. You have taken detailed measurements of his head during his sittings. Now, using a series of calipers and pointing devices, you and your senior journeyman create a three-dimensional grid of reference points on the surface of the block. These points will guide the initial, brutal stage of the carving. With the points marked, you turn the block over to your apprentices. Their job is the roughing out. It is the least skilled, but most physically demanding, part of the process. For the next few weeks, the workshop is filled with the deafening sound of heavy iron hammers, or mallets, striking the heads of thick pointed chisels. The boys work tirelessly, chipping away the great mass of waste stone, their young bodies slick with sweat, the air around them thick with a choking white dust. They are not carving a face. They are liberating a basic shape, a crude, blocky form of a head and shoulders, from the stone. They work down to the reference points you marked, and no further. An apprentice who takes off too much stone is a boy who will feel the sting of your switch. Slowly, painstakingly, the rough, ghost-like form of the bust begins to emerge from its marble prison. While your apprentices toil on the rough block, your client, the Senator Lucius Cornelius, comes to your workshop for his sittings. He sits on a stool in a quieter corner of the yard, his face a mask of impatient dignity. He is a busy man, and he considers this a necessary but tedious part of the process. For you, it is absolutely critical. You are not just trying to capture a physical likeness. You are trying to capture his soul, his character, his gravitas. You sit with a block of clay or a wax tablet, modelling his features, making detailed sketches. But you are also guided by another, older Roman tradition, the imagens maiorum, the images of the ancestors. For centuries, great Roman families have preserved their lineage by creating wax death masks of their patriarchs. These masks, shockingly realistic, are kept in wooden shrines in the atrium of the family home. At funerals, they are worn by actors who impersonate the deceased's ancestors in a great procession. It is a powerful theatrical display of family history and continuity. This tradition has created a cultural taste for stark, unvarnished realism. The Romans do not want to look like gods. They want to look like themselves, only more so. To achieve this level of realism, you may even employ a new technique. You might take a plaster cast directly from the senator's face. It is an uncomfortable process for him. You cover his face in oil, place hollow reeds in his nostrils so he can breathe, and then apply wet plaster. When it dries, you carefully remove the negative mould from which you can create a perfect, lifelike plaster positive. This gives you a flawless, three-dimensional map of his face, a shortcut to the kind of verism your culture demands. It is a technique some of your fellow sculptors look down on as a form of cheating, but in a competitive business, you use every tool at your disposal. The apprentices have finished their dusty, noisy work. Before you stands not a block, but a crude, blocky approximation of a human head and shoulders. The grunt work is over. Now the art begins. Now, you, the master, take up your own chisels. This is what the senator is paying for. Not for the labour of boys, but for your hand, your eye, your singular skill in turning stone into life. You walk around the rough form, studying it, seeing the finished portrait that is still trapped within. You begin with a claw chisel. its toothed edge allowing you to remove stone more quickly and to begin modelling the planes of the face. The sound of your work is different from the apprentice's crude hammering. It is a more rhythmic, more musical, and more considered tap, tap, tap of your mallet on the chisel head. You work with a quiet, intense focus. You're in a silent conversation with the stone. You carve the strong line of the jaw, the sharp curve of the nose, the deep hollows of the eye sockets. As you get closer to the final surface, you switch to a flat chisel. The work becomes more delicate, more precise. You're no longer removing stone. You're shaping light and shadow. You carve the deep lines that fan out from the corners of the senator's eyes, the crow's feet that speak of decades spent squinting at official documents and battlefield horizons. You carve the pronounced furrows in his brow, the mark of a man burdened by the worries of state. You carve the sagging flesh of his jowls, the thin, compressed line of his lips. This is the art of Roman verism. It is a celebration of imperfection. Every scar, every wrinkle, every asymmetry is not a flaw to be hidden, but a badge of honour to be celebrated. They are the evidence of a life lived, of battles fought, of duties performed. You are not just carving a portrait. You are carving a resume in stone, a testament to the senator's character, his experience, and his uniquely Roman virtue. To give your sculpture true life, you must create the illusion of texture. The smooth, waxy skin of a young man is easy to imitate. The rough, leathery skin of an old senator, the soft texture of his hair, the woolen fabric of his toga. These require a different set of tools and skills. For this, you turn to one of the Roman sculptor's most important innovations, the running drill. It is a simple bow-powered drill with an iron tip, but in the hands of a master, it is a revolutionary tool. You use the drill to create pockets of deep shadow, to add a depth and a psychological intensity that a chisel alone cannot achieve. You use it to carve the senator's hair. Instead of the stylized, solid masses of hair seen in Greek sculpture, you create a more realistic, animated effect. You drill deep channels into the stone, leaving delicate bridges of marble between them. The result is a dramatic play of light and dark that gives the hair a sense of softness and volume. It is a noisy, dusty, and dangerous process. A slight slip of the drill could send a crack through a delicate feature, ruining the entire piece. The drill is most important in the creation of the eyes. The Greeks often left the eyes as blank, smooth surfaces. But you, a Roman sculptor, must capture the soul. You use a fine-pointed drill to carefully hollow out the iris, and two even smaller, deeper holes to represent the pupil. This simple technique has a profound effect. For the first time, the stone eyes seem to have a focus, a direction, a glimmer of inner life. When the light catches the small, dark voids of the pupils, the senator's gaze seems to follow you around the room. It is a trick of the light, a masterful manipulation of shadow, but it is the final touch that transforms a likeness into a presence. The carving is done. The bust of the senator sits in the centre of your workshop, a silent, powerful presence. But it is not yet finished. In the modern mind, we imagine Roman statues as pristine, ghostly white objects. This is a fantasy, an accident of time. The final, critical stage of the process is to bring the statue to life with colour. First, however, comes the polishing. Your apprentices spend days, even weeks, on this tedious but crucial task. They rub the surface of the marble with a series of abrasives, from coarse pumice to fine emery powder, and finally with a lead-filled cloth. But you do not polish the entire sculpture to the same high sheen. You instruct them to polish the skin surfaces, the face, the neck, the hands. until they have a smooth, waxy, and lifelike glow. The hair, however, and the woolen toga are left with a rougher, more matte finish. This contrast of textures enhances the realism, tricking the eye into believing it is seeing different materials. Then the Pictor, the specialist painter, arrives. He brings with him his pots of pigment, made from ground minerals and mixed with an egg binder. And under your careful direction, he begins to paint the statue. This is the final step that would shock a modern museum goer. He paints the senator's hair a distinguished iron grey. He paints his lips a natural, fleshy red. He carefully colours the iris of the eyes a deep brown, and adds a tiny white highlight to the pupil to make it glisten. He may even add a subtle, sunburnt tint to the skin. The toga is painted as well, perhaps with a broad purple stripe to indicate the senator's rank. The finished product is not a cold, white ghost. It is a vivid, colourful, and startlingly lifelike effigy, a doppelganger in stone. The colours will fade over the centuries, leaving behind the bleached skeleton we know today. But in this moment, your creation is complete. It is ready to be delivered. The day of the delivery is a nerve-wracking one. The finished bust, weighing several £100, is carefully padded with straw and cloth, loaded onto a cart, and transported through the crowded streets to the senator's magnificent villa on the Palatine Hill. You walk alongside the cart, your heart pounding with a mixture of pride and anxiety. This is the final judgment, the judgment of the client. You and your assistants carry the bust into the great atrium of the house, the formal reception hall. The senator, Lucius Cornelius, is waiting for you, surrounded by his family. The bust is placed on a temporary pedestal, and with a flourish you remove the cloth covering. A hush falls over the room. The senator walks slowly around the portrait, his own living face a mirror of the stone one. He peers intently at the details. He runs a finger over the carved scar on the cheek, a memento from his service in Gaul. He looks into the deep-set, drilled eyes that seem to hold his own gaze. He is not looking for flattery. He is looking for truth. For the Roman elite, a portrait was a statement of fact. It was a record of a life of struggle and achievement. The wrinkles, the scars, the stern expression, these were not flaws. They were the very essence of his identity, of his Romanness. After a long, silent minute, he turns to you. He does not smile. He simply gives a short, sharp nod. "It is me," he says. "It is the highest possible praise. You have not made him beautiful. You have made him real. And you have made him immortal. Your work is done. You have been paid and you leave the villa, your mind already on your next commission. But you take with you the final image of your creation, placed in its intended home. The bust is not displayed alone, like a piece of art in a gallery. It is placed in a special arched niche in the wall of the atrium, one of a long line of such niches. In the other niches are the imagines, the wax death masks of the senator's father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, stretching back for generations. Your marble bust has now taken its place in this solemn procession of ancestors. It is a link in a great, unbroken chain of family and tradition. It is an ancestor in waiting. One day, the senator himself will die, and on the day of his funeral, your marble bust will be carried in the great procession, alongside the actors wearing the wax masks of his forefathers. It will serve as a permanent, powerful stand-in for the man himself. You understand, in this moment, the true purpose of your work. You're not just making decorative objects. You're a manufacturer of legacy. You're a craftsman for the Roman obsession with lineage, duty, and reputation. Your dusty, noisy workshop is a factory that produces stone ghosts, silent witnesses who will carry the story of a man's life and of his service to Rome into the endless, silent centuries to come. The Roman portrait bust was not born from a desire for abstract beauty, but from a deeply cultural need to preserve and display a very specific set of virtues. It was a product of a society that saw the marks of age not as a sign of decay, but as a testament to character. The Roman sculptor was not a solitary, inspired genius, but a master craftsman at the head of a busy, commercial workshop. He and his apprentices toiled in the dust and the noise, with heavy hammers and fine chisels, to create a silent stone record of a human face, proving that the most powerful legacies are often carved not in idealized perfection, but in the honest, unflinching, and brutal reality of a life well lived.